What's going on, guys? Welcome back to part 2 of the engine teardown. Hopefully in this video, by the end, we will have the engine at least out, maybe put on the stand, and then we'll start disassembling the engine from there. But the first thing that we're gonna go ahead and do here now is get that wastegate off down in the hole there. And that is just a tile 38mm. We're gonna get that off so that way we can get to some of the bell housing bolts and get that downpipe off. I'll probably leave the turbo on when we pull the motor, but then we'll get the turbo off the motor obviously after we get it out. We gotta unhook some fuel lines and gonna unhook the heater core hose and then get the rest of the bell housing bolts out, undo the pitch stop, drain the oil, and yeah, that should be pretty much it. And then we'll get a hoist hooked up to this thing and we'll get it out for you guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and put you on a little time lapse and we'll go ahead and get some of these parts off here. Alright guys, so we got the tile wastegate out. You see that down in there, that's where it was. We got it out. There was just a V-band holding it and the boost line. So we got the boost line cut off and we got the V-band clamp undone. So we got that out of there. Now I have taken out most of the turbo to downpipe bolts. There's one stud left on the bottom side that I still have to get to, and I'm gonna get to it from the bottom. So I'm gonna go under there, undo that one, and then undo where the downpipe hooks up to the mid pipe, and we'll get the downpipe off, and then we can think about maybe starting to take the starter off and the bell housing bolts. So stay tuned. All right guys, so we just got the NVIDIA downpipe off. As you can see, this one was ceramic coated. I already took the O2 sensor out, but yeah, we got it off. There was just 5 up top here. The top 2 are actually bolts and the other ones are studs off the back. Then there's just 2 bolts holding it to the mid pipe there that we got rid of. So I actually left those in the mid pipe for our new setup. But down in this hole here, you can see no downpipe, no wastegate. So we're looking like a little more spacious down in there now. Now the goal is to get the starter off, maybe unhook the fuel lines, get a couple more of these boost lines off the intake manifold, and then we'll catch up with you guys after we do that. So I got this starter off, got the downpipe off like I said, and I want to show you one thing that's really important with the transmission and the clutch. So when you pull the engine, there's a clutch fork, and the way that the Subaru clutch is set up, you have to pull this plug out right here. You can kind of see it right there. Yeah, so that is a Allen socket. Well, you're gonna need a big Allen socket for that on a breaker bar, and usually they're pretty tight. And then once we pull that out, there's gonna be a rod that holds the clutch fork, and that is gonna release the clutch and let it all come out nice and smooth. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that off. Even though we're not quite ready to pull the engine, it's just a good habit just to get it done with. So it is a 14mm Allen wrench that fits that, and I just broke it loose. So I'm just gonna turn it out here by hand. Now inside of there is a fork, and it's a little M8 bolt that you can use any M8 bolt and screw that into there, get a hold of it with your finger, kind of wiggle it, and you should be able to pull it right out. So let me go ahead and get that out here real quick. We'll show you guys. All right, so I just used the pry bar to kind of get it loose, but you can see we got it loose. We got the pin out. So this pin actually holds the clutch fork. So like I said, you won't get the engine out if you don't take this out. It'll just pull the whole transmission with it. So that's good. We got that out. I'm gonna put this in its own little baggie. One thing is really important, just to try to stay organized. I got bags here with labels on them. So I put bolts in them, all kinds of stuff like that, just to try to stay organized. And also my table's a little bit of a mess right now, but I'm gonna clean it up before we go into the next thing. So yeah, stay tuned. So I went ahead and undid the pitch stop mount right here. So that is undone from the transmission. I'm gonna go ahead and take the fuel lines off of the engine. We're gonna lift it out with the fuel lines on it, and then we'll take out whatever we need to take out for the new setup. But yeah, these are all 6AN lines. Everything's for sale. Not the rails, but the whole parallel fuel system. It's actually all custom built. I did it a while back, so haven't had any issues with it, but I'm gonna go ahead and get the fuel lines unhooked so I can lay them to the side, and then we can move on to the next thing. All right, so you can see we got the fuel lines off. Sorry I haven't been filming too many time lapses, but I figured maybe you guys were getting a little tired of it. Drop me a comment, let me know what you think. But yeah, we got the fuel line off right there in the center. I got a couple makeshift plugs on here just so then it doesn't leak gas everywhere. And make sure whenever you're taking fuel lines off just to have some rags on there. Just hold them under it just to be sure. But next we're gonna go ahead and unplug the harnesses on both sides. So we have a couple main harnesses on this side, a couple main harnesses on this side. All this stuff looks so terrible in my opinion. So hopefully whenever we rebuild the car, we can do something different with all the wires. Maybe tuck them, not quite sure yet, but we'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and get them undone. And then honestly, I'll probably just drain the oil, and tomorrow will be the day we pull it out. All right guys, so we are back. It was the next day. I wrapped up a couple other things with the engine pull. So we got the main harnesses here unplugged. So all that is good. We got the ground undone. We got the fuel lines undone. We got the oil drained out. I have the filter out here in case it wants to go everywhere. Not sure what I'm gonna do with the oil cooler yet. I'll probably unhook it from the engine and then just let the hoses stay where they are. Just hope that oil doesn't drain everywhere. And next thing after that is just the bell housing bolts, and we should be ready to pull it. So yeah, stay tuned. I'm gonna get those bell housing bolts out, and then next footage you guys see should be me pulling the engine. So stay tuned, keep you guys up to date. As you can see, I have done all of the boring work to prepare for the engine pull. We have chains on the engine right here. So I got the hoist already all put together. Like I said, it got all the boring stuff out of the way so I could show you guys the good stuff. So have all the bell housing bolts out. You can see right here, it's splitting a little bit. Have the clutch fork out, all the fuel lines unhooked, all the wiring harnesses unhooked, bell housing bolts all out, like I said. So yeah, we're ready to pull this thing. I'm gonna throw this AC over to the side here, and then we'll start pulling her up. So yeah, we'll put you guys on a little time lapse so you guys can see that. So stay tuned. Before I start to pull the engine, not sure if you can see my head right now, but we're gonna have to put a jack under the transmission to match the angle of the bell housing on the engine. So we're gonna put a jack right under the transmission. I'm not gonna put it straight on the transmission. I'm gonna put a piece of wood here, so that way we don't scar the bottom of the transmission up. But yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll pump this. We'll do one pump of this, one pump of that, just evenly jacking it up until we get high enough to clear the motor mounts on the bottom, and then we can pull the motor forward with the transmission still up. And then once we clear the transmission studs by pulling the motor forward, then we can go straight up with the engine and we'll get it out of here. So yeah, stay tuned. so we got the flywheel off, we got the pressure plate off. Real quick, I wanted to show you guys these parts. They only have about 4,000 miles on them, but I wanted to show you guys, I never have launched the car. I've never like slammed it into gear, never been hard on this stuff at all. Like look at the rivets, not even close to the rivets. So lots and lots of life left on this clutch and this pressure plate here. Keep that in mind, we're gonna be posting it on Facebook. I'll post the exact one that it is up here on the screen. I think it was around $600 or something like that. It's rated for right around 520 horsepower, I believe. It's a ACT clutch. So yeah, pretty nice stuff here. Gonna have to have something better for what we're doing, so this is gonna have to be sold. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this thing on the engine stand. All right guys, so this is how far we made it. This is gonna conclude part 2. We got the engine out. I just took the chain off it where we had pulled it. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get all this stuff off and give you guys a quick look at the engine bay real quick. This is it for part 2. Tune into part 3 if you wanna see us tearing down the engine. I gotta get all the timing components off of it, get the turbo off it, turbo inlet, fuel lines, all that stuff, get all that off there so then it can be for sale, because I'm gonna use that money towards my new turbo parts. So get the header off as well. But yeah, if you guys like this video, be sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys in part 3.